Ever catch yourself going, who even am I? Like really deep down, beyond just, everyday stuff. What is this me thing?
It's a question, honestly, that's probably plagued humans, like, forever, right?
Totally. And the good news is we're not alone in this existential pondering. Philosophers have been wrestling with this whole nature of the self thing for centuries.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So to help us, well, maybe not solve it, but at least understand it a bit better, we're diving into, get this, 8, count them, 8 different philosophers and their takes on the self.
A real philosophical buffet.
Exactly. And don't worry, think of this less like a pop quiz and more like a highlight reel we're after those aha moments.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's kick things off with who else? Socrates, famous for that whole know thyself thing. Sounds simple enough, right? But what's the deeper meaning behind those two little words?
Yeah, see, Socrates wasn't just talking about knowing your favorite color or what you ate for breakfast. It's about seriously digging deep, questioning your beliefs, values, everything you think makes you you. It's tough work.
So less about like, what am I feeling right now, and more about why do I even have these feelings in the first place?
Exactly. And the kicker is, it's not a one-and-done deal. Socrates believed it was an ongoing process. And fun fact, we only know about Socrates' ideas because his student, Plato, wrote them down. Talk about taking good notes. And Plato actually built on this whole self idea even more.
So what did Plato bring to the philosophical table?
Well, he had this idea of the ideal self. Basically, picture the most perfect, awesome version of you, like existing in some other realm.
Like we all have the potential to be amazing.
Right. Plato believed our souls are kind of hidden beneath all the chaos of everyday life. And the goal, chip away at that chaos through wisdom and good actions to become the best us we can be.
I like that. But does that mean like if someone's not living up to their potential, they're just, I don't know, not trying hard enough at this whole ideal self thing?
Ooh, good question. And one philosopher still debate. It gets at whether we have the power to shape who we are, or if some things are just, well, out of our control. But now, let's jump ahead a few centuries. Time for St. Augustine to shake things up. He throws a whole other dimension into the mix, literally.
Right. Augustine is where things get a bit more, shall we say, heavenly.
Exactly. He combined classic philosophy with his Christian beliefs, claiming the soul isn't just about knowing yourself, but about connecting with something bigger.
So other philosophers are focused on us here now, but Augustine is thinking like cosmic level.
You got it. He believed true fulfillment comes from aligning with, like, God's love, God's justice. Imagine it like a bridge connecting us to something way beyond ourselves.
Okay, so we've gone from know thyself to unleash your inner awesome to phone home to the divine.
And we're just getting started.
Oh boy, this is already a lot of brain food. Who's next on our philosopher list?
Next up is René Descartes. The I think, therefore I am guy.
Yeah, cogito ergo sum, pretty famous quote. But
Yeah.
what's it actually mean though? And why all the hype?
So picture this. You're trying to build a house, right?
Right.
But the ground underneath, it just won't stop moving. That's kind of what it was like for philosophers before Descartes. They were looking for solid answers about the self, but Descartes was like, nope, the only thing I know for sure is that I'm here thinking, doubting. So boom,
Yeah.
I exist.
So even if everything else is like an illusion, the very act of thinking proves something's doing the thinking. It's a bit of mind blown, but also reassuring.
Right. And from there, Descartes lays down another philosophical bombshell, mind-body dualism.
Dualism. Refresh my memory on that one.
Okay, so Descartes, he believed that while the mind and body are definitely connected, they're fundamentally different. The mind, it's all thought, reason, totally non-physical. But the body, it's like a machine running on those laws of physics.
Hold on. So my brain's like this high-powered computer. My body is just the hardware it lives in, but they're like running totally different software.
Nailed it. And this idea, it totally changed the game. It's why we still talk about mind over matter or have those out-of-body moments.
It's true. I mean, even if you don't totally buy the separate substances thing, we've all had times when our mind feels completely disconnected from our body. Like you're so engrossed in a book, you forget you even have a body for a while.
100%. And speaking of different perspectives, let's move on to John Locke, who had a completely different take on the self. If Descartes was all mind, Locke was all about the power of experience. He believed we're born as blank slates, tabula rasa, if you're feeling fancy, and it's our experiences that shape who we become.
Wait, so instead of arriving with a preloaded mind, Locke's saying we're more like what, empty notebooks just waiting to be filled by life?
Exactly. Every sight, every sound, every interaction gets jotted down, building this unique picture of you.
So it's like we're constantly picking up these pieces of ourselves as we go through life. But then, does that mean, say, someone with amnesia, they have a weaker sense of self because they've lost some of those pieces?
Now, that is a fascinating question, and honestly a tough one. Locke, he might say that even without specific memories, the impact of those experiences is still there in our personality. Like I might not remember every ingredient in a cake, but each bite still has that combined effect.
Interesting. So we've got this innate self from Descartes, this blank slate from Locke. Are we sensing a theme here? Philosophers don't exactly make things easy, do they?
You're catching on. Just when you think you've got a grasp on things, along comes David Hume, ultimate philosophical skeptic, and shakes everything up again.
Oh boy. Hit me with it. What did Hume have to say about all this?
Hume took one look at this fixed self idea and was like, hold on a minute. He argued that when we look inward, we don't find some solid core. Nope. What we actually find is a bunch of perceptions, feelings, memories, all in constant flux.
Wait, so 1 minute I'm feeling confident, the next I'm second-guessing everything, and that's normal, according to Hume.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
He'd say that's just being human is this constant flow of consciousness.
So less like a sturdy oak tree, more like a, I don't know, a river. Always changing, never the same from one moment to the next.
You got it. But hey, before we get too swept away by Hume's ever-changing river, along comes Immanuel Kant to maybe, just maybe, build us a philosophical bridge.
Kant. Now, he always seemed like a heavy hitter, even among philosophers.
That he was. Kant, he listened to Hume's whole no fixed self thing and was like, okay, I get it. We can't directly experience some unchanging soul. But he also thought Hume took it too far. Kant argued there's got to be something tying all our experiences together, some kind of anchor in the storm.
So, like, there's this unseen force behind the scenes making sure we don't completely unravel.
Right. Kant called it the transcendental ego. We can't see it directly, but we can tell it's there by how we experience the world around us.
It's like the very fact that we can think, understand, make sense of things points to this deeper part of us. Pretty wild.
Right. And for Kant, this wasn't just some abstract idea. This ability, he said, is what makes humans worthy of respect.
Okay, so with Kant, we're not just like leaves blowing in the wind. There's something deeper, more solid that makes us us. I gotta say, I'm liking that a little more than Hume's take, but hold on, we still have one more philosopher to go, right?
Right. Last but not least, we've got Gilbert Ryle. And if Descartes was all about that inner world, Ryle brings us right back to those actions, those behaviors. He wasn't sold on this whole mind as a separate thing idea.
So, is Ryle saying our minds aren't real? I mean, that's bold, even for a philosopher.
It's not that our minds aren't real, but more like we've got it all wrong about how we understand them. He called Descartes' dualism the ghost and the machine theory because it made it seem like there's this hidden mind controlling the body, like a puppet show.
Instead of looking for the puppet master, we should be paying attention to how the puppets are actually moving.
Exactly. Ryle's point was, we get to know the mind, not by dissecting it, but by looking at what people do. Think about it. How many times do you figure out someone's mood without them saying a word, just by how they're acting?
All the time. You don't need someone to tell you they're having a bad day if they slam the door on their way out. Their actions say it all.
Right. Ryle would say those actions, our habits, our tendencies, that's the real mind on display. No need to separate it out into this whole other thing.
Wow. We have covered some serious philosophical ground here. From knowing ourselves to wondering if there even is a self to know, and then back to letting our actions speak for themselves. I can see why this whole self question has kept philosophers busy for, well, forever.
It's because, at the end of the day, we are all walking mysteries. There's no one answer, no magic formula for understanding who we are. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Maybe it really is all about the journey, not the destination, right? So after this whirlwind tour of the philosophical self, what's, like, the one thing you'd want our listeners to walk away with today?
Don't ever stop asking questions.
No.
The self isn't this finished product. It's always evolving, changing, growing through every experience, every decision we make. So yeah, keep that curiosity going.
Beautifully said. And a huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through, well, what might be the most mind-bending topic of all time. And to our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive. Until next time, keep those philosophical wheels turning. And remember, philosophy isn't just for dusty old books. It's for anyone who's ever looked in the mirror and wondered, who's looking back?